Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
I'm a relationship hack.
Run up and get touched up, suicide. And all of y'all know my style. I excel, then prevail. Run up and get touched up, suicide, that's it. And all of y'all know my style. I excel, then prevail.
Now, most Americans violate drug laws in their lifetime. Most do. That's what the research shows. But the drug war, not by accident, has been waged almost exclusively.
When will you learn to do it yourself instead of waiting for somebody to save your life? Food for the fire, your bitch ass was born to expire. First to the last, worst of the peasants to fail this class. Living with another man's foot in your ass. Turn around like this when you give it up, bitch. Let them live it up, rich get richer. It's fine for the camera, let them take your picture. African-American homegrown nigga, so Cain and Abel lie. Hard for the nigga wanna stay alive. When will you get up off your knees instead of begging for somebody to pay your pride? If you ain't gon' get it right, move, nigga, let me do. If you ain't gon' get it right, if you ain't gon' get it right, if you ain't gon' get it right, move, nigga, let me do.
Ladies and gentlemen, the So What Morning Show back in the building. A little remix from Truth. Marching orders. Let me see what the second verse sound like.
Motherfuckers open up stores in your hood and treat you like a thief every time you walk in, but you keep coming police patrol shit. Occupying like they was the fucking Marines, but you can't do nothing about it but sleepwalk. Street talk, bitch, and moan about shit that you don't even own. Kill niggas that look just like you, while everybody else unites and together they getting stronger than the
Damn! Alright. Damn, poet. Yee. Woo. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what we do on this show. It's about community empowerment. We like to have riveting discussions and topics, but before we get those topics started, we like to highlight and promote black businesses. My homeboy's in the building again. He keep me tight out there, boxing, showing me how to, you standing wrong, Zoe. You know, your uppercut is weak. That left hook, though, nigga. Will you tell, hey, Kev, tell them about your business, man, and what you do, man.
Yeah, the business is, the program I have is booty boxing, and that's to shape and tone the booty in a way that also that's more fun than just doing regular exercises. You get you can train and learn how to fight as well while you get that in there. Just go ahead and go to Udemy for the home system, 8-week home system. That's udemy.com/bootyboxing, and the promo code or the free promo code is ZoWhatShow.
There it is. Weed juice. Come on, man. Weed juice. Y'all got to support this dude. I think my man got what? Like a 20% discount for all ZoWhat listeners. So just go to his website, Weed Juice. That's OUIjuice.com. Use the code We Live, We Love, Weed Juice. Support that brother. Also, this brother came in. We did an interview with him. Conspiracy of Debt. Corey P. Smith. Go to Amazon.com and please support this brother's book right now. Go buy this book right now. Very good read.
I got that book.
It's a good read, right?
I got it.
Hey, Real Men Don't Play. You already know who this is and what this is about. Continue to support brother Bobby Glanton-Smith. Go to Amazon.com. Order your copy right now. Bobby will get it out to you. It's important that you do that. Let's go to Freedom Paper. What's that? Freedom Paper Company. Right? You got it? Freedom Paper Company. Black-owned business. They create toilet paper. All types of household supplies, cleansers.
Every time you talk about this, you lead off with the toilet paper.
I'm just saying, that's what they do.
That's it.
I'm just saying, you know, they do a lot of stuff, man, but there's no reason you should purchase your shit from somebody else.
I agree.
Okay?
For sure.
I'm just saying. So that's Freedom Paper. Let's get on over here to Arise Hospitality. Very important that you support these brothers as well. If you support Staples and Office Max, there's no reason you can't go to Arise Hospitality and buy the exact same products from some brothers. The brother who owns this company is from the islands, by the way. His name is Everard. Yeah, he's from the island. Cool brother. Right? Please support his work. The ResumeGuru.net. Come on, man. Get your professional life together. Get your life skills together. This is a sister out of Houston trying to help y'all get your life together. You know, represent yourself on paper and in person. I'm just saying, the ResumeGuru.net. Go to our website right now. What else we got? What else we got? We got blacktradelines.com. What is Black Trade Lines? Community Economic Development. This is a black business Rolodex online. A directory for black businesses.
There you go.
Black Trade Lines. Go find what businesses you need. You never know. You never know what kind of business you're looking for.
Oh, that's real.
Black Trade Lines. All right? And that's .com. Go check that out. Then also, Miboso. Listen, check it out. Herbs. Brother put together some herbs. Got everything in it.
And it's organic.
Ginger root, astragalus, cayenne pepper, ginkgo.
Damn.
Cinnamon, peppermint, golden seal, garlic. It's got everything in it.
Word.
Miboso. Me, mind, bo, body, soul. Miboso.
Wow.
Mind, body, and soul.
Wow.
8. Go to the website, www.miboso8.com. MIBOSO, the number 8.com. Support this brother.
Damn.
You got all that in there, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Damn.
just saying. Hey. I'm just saying.
Wow.
Now, the game is real. These are almost gone. Now, let me just tell you what's been happening. The website went down 2 weeks ago. Right? When I initially announced only 300 copies remaining. We're down to 250. We struggled to find alternative ways for the people to still purchase. And in that 2-week period, we got off 50 copies. There's only 250 copies of the relationship dismount, the physical copy remaining. I'm telling you, you know how I get down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to reprint. It's not going to do it. So if you want a physical, I will mail it out. I was late today. Y'all know I don't come here late. I'm here before Jake gets here. I was late today because I got up early, went to the post office, and waited until they opened so I can make sure I got off everybody's package. I shipped off a whole bunch today. I shipped off 2 packages to the Netherlands, 2 packages to Canada.
Yeah.
I mean,
International pimping.
I'm just saying. The relationship dismount is about to go the way of the dodo. Get your copy now. And what's the website? IamZoeWilliams.com. You click on shop. Order your copy now. I'll be going to the post office again tomorrow morning. If you want your package shipped out tomorrow morning, go there now. Order. Only 250 copies remaining. Now, for people who haven't received their copy yet, hit me. It's very important that you write your address down accurately. A lot of people are rushing through it and write it down wrong. Write your address down accurately when you make your order. So just please do that for me. That's it. Just shit. Go get the book. Right? Go get the book. IamZoeWilliams.com. Only 250 copies left. Oh, yeah. Panache Ganache. We got to support this sister.
Oh, yeah.
She made us cakes and cookies, and I keep saying she's the female sister version of Cake Boss. You got to support her.
She's off the chain.
The relationship dismount, IamZoeWilliams.com. Click the shop button. Only 250 copies left. Or If you don't mind, you don't want a physical book, go to Amazon.com and get the Kindle version. The Kindle version works just fine too. So, oh, and there's Elephant. Their website is down right now. Or is that a picture? Got it. Their website is being, it's being, what is it, the word? For maintenance or something? Yeah. It's being updated and maintained right now, but
Under construction.
I love those brothers, man. You guys got to continue to support them. So with that said, everything has been promoted. Oh, Veronica Conway. Black Mastery. Got to get blackmastery.com. You got to do it. Go there right now. Support this movement. I've supported all the business that I can right now. If you want your business supported, just email me something that describes it, that tells us what it's about to 2319zo1@gmail.com. Now that that's done, let's get up out of here. I need a video to frame up today's topic. Zo Up Morning Show. We'll be back in 2.2.
We must begin the count at 50 million. And so this is a crime of scope that lasted for 400 years. Officially, the last nation to outlaw the importation of Africans for labor, free labor, was Brazil, and that wasn't until 1888. So slavery, by any definition, is a crime against humanity, and reparations are trying to get these, and we need to pay for it. And it doesn't mean that the cost will cover what occurred, but it does mean that the nation says we need to make some type of restitution to this group of people who were enslaved for over 200 years in this country. The Accra Declaration that you can find online was a study done by African scholars in Ghana in mid-1990s. They looked at the entire impact of enslavement on the continent. They looked at the extraction of rubber, diamonds, gold, mahogany. They looked at the kidnapping of somewhere between 50 and 75 million people out of the continent, the impact of colonialism, exploitation, and so forth. The figure they came up with was $777 trillion. There's not that much money in the world. But you started a point. Richard America, the economist at Georgetown, he estimated that black people are essentially responsible for about an $8 to $10 trillion transfer of labor to white people. In other words, if you paid all the millions of Africans who were enslaved in this country a regular salary at their rate, it would amount to about $10 trillion of free labor that was given. So $1 trillion ain't that much compared to in the scheme of things. And Randall calls for a large sum of money, but you got to begin a negotiation someplace.
And would an apology be enough?
Well, and a formal apology would be desirable. I certainly don't think it's sufficient because what the apology handles the concern, the first aspect of the objectives, which is acknowledgement, but it doesn't address the second two, which is redress and closure. And redress and closure really requires the development of a substantial program of reparations that would be intended to eliminate the significant economic disparities that exist between African Americans and non-African Americans in this society.
And you think reparations would do that?
Well, if designed properly, certainly. I mean, I obviously I could conceive of a reparations program that's called that wouldn't really have much of an effect on anything, depending on the magnitude of the compensation, depending on the way in which the program is executed. But a properly designed reparations program certainly could have the redistributive effects that could really alter the way in which we think about racial inequality in this society.
Well, it ain't no secret. Today's topic is going to be a heavy one. Woo! Where's my 40 acres and the mule? A riveting look at the case for slave reparations for African Americans here in America. Now, the brother brought up a lot of important questions. Why white people think an apology is enough? And then the other question that pops up is, you see how the brother was sitting there trying to calculate just how much money it would be if they had to pay. It was like, okay, we paying if we paid every slave a particular salary, right? I mean, do you think they haven't paid reparations? Or they, meaning the government of America, the United States of America, the government? You think they haven't paid reparations because, like the man said, ain't enough money to pay us what they owed us? I don't know. We're going to get into it, though. If we can agree that African Americans deserve reparations, then what does the continent of Africa deserve? Kevin is like, shut up. True or false? One of the most offensive critiques of the argument for paying reparations to African Americans is the notion that black people are owed nothing because they were better off in America than they would have been in Africa. Some people say, listen, we created a new kind of African by bringing you from Africa and raising you here. You guys are the vanguard of your people. That's because we took you. You should thank us. A lot of people say, listen, if you stayed in Africa, you'd be a third world person with a third world mindset. All right. Yeah? I want to know, do we deserve reparations? And if so, what's the holdup? Bobby?
Of course, we deserve compensation for free labor. The question is the protocol. How do you actually make that happen and then do it in such a way that it changes the arc of life in this country and around the world for people of African descent? And that's the raging debate, and it continues as we sit here right now as I try to process what's more important, whether or not we deserve it or how do we get it. That's the more important question for me.
Well, for reparations, it depends on what you're talking about. Reparations meaning to repair what was broken. So if you're talking about reparations for slavery, then there's too many aspects of it to just try to put everybody into one thing and say all black people deserve reparations. Because you have the slavery that went down to the Caribbean, which is where most of the slave trade ended up in the first place. Very few slaves came to America, or relatively very few slaves came to America. Around 500 to about 700,000 slaves came over here. So if you're asking about reparations for slavery in America, then if you are descended from somebody who was brought over from Africa, I guess you can take up that thing or that idea. But most black people, or so-called black people in America, were already here. And see, this is the big lie or the scam that they've been trying to hide. They don't want you to know that you were already over here, because if you found that out and understood who you actually were, that creates right to the land. That creates rights to the land, the resources, and everything. So what they had to do was to get you to think that you all came from Africa. And then what that did is that severs your ties to the land mass. Now the land is still yours. It's only in trust to the government. But until when you come back in your right mind and status, then you can actually get the land back. Now that's a discussion we're gonna have later on. But so as far as most African Americans, or any type of creative term you want to put on it, the reason they gave you these terms, black, African American, colored, and Negro, is because it creates a status of you not being real in law. And if you're not real, then you can't own anything. So as far as reparations for American slavery, no, I don't think there should be reparations for American slavery unless you can actually go back and figure out if your ancestors were recently imported over here from Africa.
Are you okay? I need to be clear. Are you saying there are different classes of African that were here during slavery time? Not everybody was a slave.
No, most black people over here were already here. They descendants from the Aboriginal tribes who were over here, which is where America gets its name. Not from Amerigos Vespucci. It comes from Amaruca or Amarucan, which is the land of Kukulkan, or the land of Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent. which is what the deity they worship over here. So if you're talking about Africans or African American and all of these different terms that place you under a certain jurisdiction, then you're never going to get reparations. That's just how it is. You keep asking for reparations, you're never going to get it like that. So the first thing you have to do is understand there's different types of citizenship and classes of citizenship, first of all, in America, and then understand what citizenship you fit under, and then you have to proceed from there. But everybody going as one big group and saying, oh, we need reparations for slavery as black people, it's not going to work like that, because that's not how it was when it was over here or when it began.
Excuse me.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting, and I don't even challenge his facts. I just know that it's got to be simplified in order for it to be quantified, because the part of the country that I'm from, in Tennessee, there's still evidence of the slave quarters and the descendants of slave, and I ain't got to go that far back in my own family lineage to run into that, to them chains.
Right.
All right. And with that being said, I look at the Japanese, they interned them for a cup of coffee, you know, a couple of years, 3 or 4 years at the most, and because of their, I think, success as a race, they were able to get compensated for just internment, not even enslavement. So I think it's a question of how you shape the narrative, whether or not you can find a means of really coming up with a figure that would be reflective of the immediate damage that was done, as you say, repairing folks or whatever, and then try to work for something simplistic, because if we get too complex, man, it's going to be just an ongoing inner debate over what it is that we're scuffling for.
Veronica Conway has joined the conversation. What's up, V?
Yeah, so listen, I interviewed Charles Ogletree, Professor Charles Ogletree, who is a Harvard professor. He's Obama's mentor, and he is a part of the Reparations Organizing Committee. And so he is the one that is leading the charge for reparations here in the United States. I tried to get him for the show. We just couldn't get him. But so he did the Tulsa reparations lawsuit, and one of the things that he said is a couple of things. It's not about having reparations for individuals. What you really want reparations for is you want to give them to the institutions where black people have in this country been disenfranchised, housing, education, all those places where we're disadvantaged and need financial recovery, right, because of the exploitation, redlining, all that stuff. That those institutions need to be the recipients of the reparations, and then those institutions can then turn around and serve black people. So it could be very simple, but here's the thing you got to understand, and Charles Ogletree talks about this, and Dr. I can't think of his name right now, but they talk about how one of the reasons that the U.S. won't apologize for it, because slavery and colonialism has been identified as a crime against humanity. The minute you apologize, then you incur liability. So that's why they won't even apologize, because then they'll incur liability, because they understand that it's been a crime against humanity.
Wow. Listen, they owe us. They owe some of us, however you want to look at it. What I think is there's a precedent. If the Jews got what, 24 something, they got billions back, right? They got billions. Japanese got paid. So there's a precedent for repaying people, right? Now, if we look at the slave trade, what was the number one currency back then? It's cotton. And you needed people to pick cotton, right? Now, that was an entire industry. This is why America went to war. The Civil War is over cotton and e-commerce. Like, hey, this is our economy, and these slaves are a part of that economy. America went to war with itself. If we were to sit down and calculate hours, and then we'll talk about the abuses experienced on the job, I think there's a hesitation, because when you calculate it, just like the professor said earlier, Shit is astronomical. We already got fake money. What they gonna do? Print up another $800 trillion to give to black folk? And then if you give that money to black folk, what black folk gonna do with it?
Give it right back.
I'm just saying, but I still think we deserve that money. Okay, we got to take a quick break. Then we're going to come right back. Reparations, where my 40 acres and a mule? So what show?
No 40 acres.
Well, Christians did come, tragically, to the party. Islam dominated the slave trade from the 7th to the 15th century, but between 1519 and 1815, Europe also joined in the trade in human flesh. Interestingly enough, it was the European nations who had suffered most at the hands of the Muslim slave raiders and under centuries of Muslim military occupation, such as Spain and Portugal, who dominated the European slave trade. It was the enemies of the Reformation who brought Europe into the slave trade. The Reformation was a 16th century movement led by Martin Luther, who tried to get the Bible translated into the vernacular, into the common tongue of the people, and gave them copies of the Bible, allowed them to come to their own conclusions, shattered the unity of Christendom under the Catholic popes and the Catholic Church into Calvinists, Zwinglians, Anabaptists, Lutherans, and so on, thus provoking a century or two of vicious religious civil war, resulting in the separation of church and state for the mere survival of European civilization. So Martin Luther defied Charles V by saying, "My conscience is captive to the word of God. Here I stand. I can do no other."
You all can have those blacks now. If you want to do the black codes, fine. I don't care. They want 40 acres a mule. We're not going to give them any reparations, 40 acres a mule. And so they said, what we need now is some kind of an instrument to make sure that we need the South to be redeveloped. We got to redevelop the South, but we can't do anything to help black folk. And we don't want to hurt the North, so how do we do it? And people say, well, why do you need black folk? They said, well, we still got to have black folk to pick this cotton. See, we still got to have somebody to pick the cotton. I told y'all, we still need that black labor. We still need black labor. Yes, they are so-called free on paper, but since we didn't give them the 40 acres and a mule, they're still not free. We still need them. How can we use them? And so they said, we got to create an instrument that will keep black folk and yet give them, and we still need the cotton. So what they did then, they created something called the Freedmen's Bureau in 1868. The Freedmen's Bureau is what later on created all of our black universities. And what they did, they took the Freedmen's Bureau and set up a special commission that would go around through the South and supposedly, in quotes, to help black folk. And the Congress appropriated some monies for them. And what they were sort of doing then was trying to give black folk a little bit of food, a little bit of so-called minimum welfare, and to help them prepare to be free. But what they decided to do was to use the Freedmen's Bureau in a very slick scheme again to re-enslave black folk.
Understand that there's a debt to be paid. Understand that there was damage done. When a Supreme Court justice, no less, says something like the way to end discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race, anybody with any sort of knowledge of that history would laugh at him.
And this is Chief Justice
This is
Roberts.
Chief Justice Roberts. Because what they would understand right away is that America has never discriminated. I've said this before, but it's never discriminated on the basis of race. Race was, as we understand it, race was invented by racism. And America has always, up until fairly recently, discriminated on the basis of racism. That's what we want to undo. That's what we want to undo. And we would understand that. Redlining would not be a shock. It wouldn't be a shock. We wouldn't think that this ended in 1968. I think it would have a profound effect on our policy. And people talk about reparations in this way. For instance, Charles Ogletree, who brought suit on behalf of the race riots in Oklahoma. When I interviewed him, that was exactly actually how he talked about reparations. His thing was that this should be part of a broader social justice thing, that the legacy of African Americans should inform programs and policies that we know would disproportionately help black people, but might help other people who are not black too.
I need 40 acres and a mule. Reparations. So what morning show is being a modern day middle class African American adequate compensation / reparation, right? Is that enough? Is that enough for the suffrage of the transatlantic slave trade? Listen, you're middle class now, nigga. You doing well. Better than anybody in Africa. You're middle class. That's your reparation. A lot of people see it that way. A lot of people see it as You grandfathered into the American dream through slavery.
Don't you got an Alexis now?
That's a lot of people think that. And I think it's an insidious thought. I think it's a poisonous thought. Because when you take on the dream of the oppressor, oh yeah, make no goddamn mistake about it. This is an oppressive situation, an oppressive system, a racist and classist system. Yeah, you can't argue that. But there are a lot of black people out there that say, shut your mouth and get to the middle class and just live good. That's compensation enough. Now, I have a real difficult time. Think of it this way. In the 40s, America went down to a place called Bikini Atoll. And there was a king and some tribes there. And they said, hey, we're going to move y'all 30, 40 miles to the southeast. We're going to give you some money, but we need to test bombs here on your island. They said, oh, sure, we're going to move you out of harm's way, all of that. Now, this is where the bikini was created, because back in the 40s, there was sensationalism surrounding the creation of the A-bomb, the creation of those bombs. So, man, they go down there, they bomb the shit out of that little place. Yep. A French designer goes, wow, America's leading the way with atomic bombs. I'm going to design something called the bikini for the island these dudes is on. This is where the bikini comes from. A French designer. They go down there and they blow the hell out of that little island. Yep. There's a 200-foot gash in the island today. Straight down, 200 feet, almost a mile across. I mean, they even developed the hydrogen bomb there. So these fools poisoned the people they moved away from that island because of, you blow up a bomb, of course, the ash and the radioactivity, it just drifted over to the other island. Yep. And got those people sick. The point that I'm making here is America fucks people up all the time. And sometimes they apologize, but not all the time. They apologize to those people. They gave those people money, but those people to this very day cannot go back to Bikini Atoll. And they still got poisoned. Right. My whole question is, when you look at America, we dropped bombs on Nagasaki, on Hiroshima, right? We interned Japanese people here. But the outreach from America and let's pay you back, let's make amends for the shit we've done, they big on that with other people. Why aren't they big on that with black people? Can anybody answer? Like, we talk about all the complexities surrounding reparations, but what are we, 7 years into a black president? Right. Has he mentioned reparations once?
I don't actually recall. He may have.
I'm just saying, why is it so fucking difficult for somebody to just go, you know what, we were wrong. We gotta get this paper together. Black people need this paper.
Not as simple as that. I mean, I'm just gonna go back to just the history of it real quick. So, coming for black people, as far as reparations for slavery, there's the Harvard professor. He's head of African American studies at Harvard. His name is Henry Louis Gates Jr. And he came out with a book in 2010, and he talked about, I forgot the title of it, but it's basically the premise is how Africans were responsible for slavery. So how you had many wars going on over in Africa, and they would capture people and then bring them to market or and sell them, or sell them over to the colonists who came over. So most of the colonists didn't just go to Africa and walk in villages and snatch black people up. They came and they basically just parked on the shores, and they were already for sale. They were in the barracoons, these little huts that held, or prisons that held the slaves on the shore, or they had them in markets, and they would just roll up, buy.
So you saying America don't owe us reparations because the slave people or the slavers were coming to Africa, and then the Africans were like merchants, and it was like slave stores for these Europeans to come by and shop and pick up. Is that what you're telling me?
That's many of the ways that they got slavery. Also, there's a video, there's a documentary of somebody that wanted to do a DNA test. These 4 black people wanted to do DNA tests and find out where they came from in the world. So it was 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And one brother, he was very militant, and he thought he just wanted to find out where he came from in Africa, because he just felt that he was so disconnected and he needed to get back. So they found his DNA. They found he came from a place in Spain. When he got there, he found the chief of the village, and so he was talking to the guy, and he was saying that how bad he felt that all the Africans were captured and taken as prisoners over there. And then the chief stopped him and corrected him. He said, "No, that's not what happened." He said, "We sold," and because at the time he had slaves of his own right there on the side of him who was going to get him shit. He would say, "Go get this." They would run and go get him this and that. And so he corrected the guy and said, "No, that's not what happened. We sold most of the slaves were sold by us. We would capture in inner wars between ourselves. We would capture slaves, certain prisoners, and we would sell them off."
But this is why some people have a confused perspective on the Moors, because a lot of Pan-Africans don't really like the Moors because they see them as traitors to their own race because they were part of the slave trade.
Right.
Can you say more?
Well, I mean, more just a title. Just means dark skin. So let's just get that out of the way. It's not a certain people. It just means dark skin. But more legally was a title that you had on the books that actually was free. So going back now, just bringing that back on in. If you want to dispute the slavery that black people sell their own slaves and all that, that's whatever. You can do that and do your own research. But as far as reparations in America goes, I'm telling you, there is a major secret and lie to keep you guys away from the fact and knowledge that you were actually born here. You were descended from this landmass. And
you gonna have to explain that shit.
I was, and then he put the music on me. But
we got time, nigga.
Okay, so that you are here from this landmass. So the first thing about reparations goes back to 1780 with this lady named Belinda Royale. She was the slave of a guy, Isaac Royale, who started Harvard Law School. And so when he fled out of America, she sued the court. She said, "I want to sue for 50 years of work that I did. I was a slave for this long, and I want to sue for this money." So she was in the court for, I forgot how long, but she sued the court. And this is where the first idea of reparations came from. Then you go and you take it on down to when Lincoln was president, and then his general Sherman, William Sherman, he's the one.
That was the one who said 40 acres and a mule.
40 acres and a mule.
Right.
And he did that, and about they gave away 400,000 acres to black people at that time. And then when Lincoln died, the next president came in and he
vetoed all of that.
He vetoed all that. He gave all the land back to all the landowners for reparations for them. They said, "Okay, we're going to compensate your losses for slaves." So he gave all the land. He gave all the land back.
So these motherfuckers. Okay, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about this reparations thing because it's important. Because whenever you talk about reparations, you're talking about economics.
Right.
And black people are in a very bad way when it comes to economics.
And that's the whole point.
So when we come back, Veronica Conway, Bobby Glanton-Smith, and of course Kevin Berenger will continue this discussion.
Here at San Francisco, for example, convoys were being made up within sight of possible Axis agents. There were more Japanese in Los Angeles than in any other area. In nearby San Pedro, houses and hotels occupied almost exclusively by Japanese were within a stone's throw of a naval air base, shipyards, oil wells. Japanese fishermen had every opportunity to watch the movement of our ships. Japanese farmers were living close to vital aircraft plants. So as a first step, all Japanese were required to move from critical areas such as these. But of course, this limited evacuation was a solution to only part of the problem. The larger problem, the uncertainty of what would happen among these people in case of a Japanese invasion, still remained. That is why the commanding general of the Western Defense Command determined that all Japanese within the coastal area should move inland. Immediately, the Army began mapping evacuation areas and for a time encouraged the Japanese to leave voluntarily. But trouble for the voluntary evacuees soon threatened in their new locations. So the program was quickly put on a planned and protected basis. Thereafter, the American citizen Japanese and Japanese aliens made their plans in accordance with Army orders. Notices were posted. All persons of Japanese descent were required to register.
Takeshi is the man who spearheaded the successful campaign to get reparations for survivors of the Japanese-American internment camps during World War II. He was just 3 years old when President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, requiring that all Japanese Americans be evacuated from the West Coast. To add insult to injury, they had a ride in a 1937 Toyota Celica.
My family found out, I think as every family did, there were military orders being posted in our communities.
When the order was given, they were given about 18 hours to get rid of everything. And they were told that you could only carry whatever you could carry that you could take with you. I'm Marjorie Matsushita Sperling, Japanese American, and I was interned during World War II.
Sperling was a young Japanese American woman living on her family's farm in Oregon when Japan attacked the United States.
We arrived very early in the morning, and I will always remember the gate clanging shut. Here I am, still emotional about it. And we didn't know when we were going to leave, where we were going to go, what was going to happen to us.
And so we left our entire household behind.
Bob Johnson of BET may be a billionaire who now owns a sport franchise. Unfortunately, when he gave up BET, it would never do what BET is doing if Bob Johnson were there. But the owners, see, it's becoming a plantation again. And you can't fight that because you want to keep your little job. But we're watching you. They've taken over everything. That black men and women have worked hard to build. And when we get it to a certain level, they give us an offer that we can't refuse. They print money every day. And every day it's getting more and more depressed.
Listen. Listen, Japan attacked America. The Africans didn't attack America. America was at war with Japan. Dropped bombs on Japan. Japan got the kamikaze on Pearl Harbor. We finna fuck y'all up. We finna die too. They was ride or die. Am I lying?
Yeah.
They got reparations. You understand? MacArthur. Then I'm coming to Bobby. MacArthur. General MacArthur goes to Japan after they dropped the second bomb because, of course, there was an unconditional surrender by Japan. General MacArthur comes in there and goes, okay, thank you for the surrender. The war is over. It's all good. Oh, but by the way, one of our conditions is that I know this is a 5,000-year-old tradition that the Japanese follow the emperor, because they had an emperor at the time, and the emperor for 5,000 years was the physical incarnation of God to the Japanese people. Well, guess what? You can't be God no more, because we kicked your God's ass. These are people, this is what I mean by pathological altruism. You know, we had to drop the bomb in order to save more lives. Technically, we saved more lives by dropping 2 bombs than if we would have gone in and... This shit is still radioactive today. Yep. So y'all done paid them, right? A people that was at war with you. No disrespect to Japanese people, we love y'all. Y'all brothers too, whether you know it or not. Now, the people who got yanked out of their tent and hut and teepees Y'all got a question on when or why or if you should repay at all, or maybe an apology is good enough, Bobby?
I'm exasperated by this conversation because we've established the fact that it was wrong. There was damages. It's just like when you go to court. You can win a lawsuit, but collecting is a whole nother world. So at some point we have to kind of look at it more pragmatically, quite frankly, and decide what are we going to do with the 24 hours in each and every day, and how do we go about, from a proactive standpoint, establishing a way of living that gives us an opportunity to improve the quality of our life day to day, not giving up on getting what we're owed, but it's just like with a personal debt. Sometimes, man, you got to just look at somebody and say, you know what, I ain't gonna get my money.
I gotta
let that go.
I ain't gonna get it.
I gotta
I'm
let
not
that
gonna
go.
get my money. But I got to get some money though.
Right.
I've got to have money in order to live, at least live a life worth living. And that's why the focus and the narrative needs to shift, at least to the extent of being focused on how do we improve the quality of our lives individually and collectively.
Veronica Conway.
Yes. So two things. So one thing is that the Africans, when they were selling folks into slavery, they had a system that was the closest approximation was indentured servitude. They did not understand how barbaric chattel slavery was going to be. So when they were selling folks to the Europeans, they had their own perspective on what it was, so they didn't understand the full implications of how brutal and savage the European was going to be. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this was from Dr. Claude Anderson, he talks about Native Americans and the Indians, right? One of the things that they did that was different than us, because they've gotten reparations, they continue to get reparations, is instead of trying to integrate into the society throughout all these terms like African American and Negro and all that stuff, they set up a separate sovereign nation.
They had a nation.
So now, because they're a sovereign nation,
but they're not sovereign.
the Cherokee Nation gets $170 million a year, and they take that money and they flip it into casinos that profit $1 billion a day, $1 million a day per casino. And so you can see, Native Americans did it because they didn't integrate. They negotiated as a sovereign nation, and they're getting paid. So it can be done if you know how to get it done.
Well, the Native Americans today, they're not the real Aboriginal Americans. They're not the real indigenous people. They're descendants from us. We're the real indigenous, and they're not sovereign. They're quasi-sovereign. There's a legal term called quasi-sovereign, and that's what they have. Basically, all the states.
You're getting paid. You're getting paid.
Oh, that's like suzerainty. That's like suzerainty, right? The legal term suzerainty, which means you look sovereign, but you're not sovereign.
Right.
You run by somebody else, but you look like a nation.
Right, and you say they're getting paid, but the true money is the land. Let me tell you, if you really want to understand that the whole shit is about the land mass. That's where all the resources are. So they don't have the land like they're supposed to have. If they get a little money here and there, and because they understand community and how to get together and utilize that money, then that's great. That's what they're doing. That's what black people have lost. But they're not the actual sovereign. They're not the actual sovereign indigenous people to the land. And if you go back to the Dred Scott case, if you go back to the Dred Scott case, which was won in 1857, one of the judges, Taney, he talks about in his why they did the decision the way they did. Well, if you don't know about the Dred Scott case, Dred Scott was a slave who sued for his freedom in the Missouri Territory, where they had instituted a law where all slaves were free. So he traveled there with his owner. He had lived there for about 3 years, and he said, oh, well, shit, if everybody else is here is free, I should be free. So he sued. He actually won, got his freedom. Then the owners took it to the Supreme Court, and they reversed it. Supreme Court reversed it. But one of the judges, Taney, when in his dissent or in his breakdown of the case, what he said was, we're only dealing, he says, the question that we're dealing with is, can a Negro who was born or a descendant of Africans who were imported into this country, do they have rights within our government? These are specific legal things he's saying. Does a Negro, which is a legal term that takes away your rights, who are descended from Africans who were imported? Now, if you are imported here, you have no landmass rights. These are certain things he's saying. Then he goes on to distinguish between, he says, unlike the Indian race, this population, talking about the black people, are different than the Indian race, who have their own laws and government and are free people. And he literally distinguished the difference between the Native Americans being free and the black people who were imported here not having any rights. And so that's one thing you can go and look and see and show, and where it shows different types of sovereignty or citizenship. And then another one is called the Sundry Moors Act of 1790, where these were 4 subjects of the Emperor of Morocco. They were black, but they were getting put under the Negro laws, and they didn't want to be. They didn't want to, if they got in trouble, they didn't want to be tried under the Negro laws.
Because I was going to ask you, how do you differentiate a Negro from a Moor?
Right, and this is how they did it. They sued, and you can look it up. It's called the Sundry Moors Act of 1790, South Carolina. And so they went and petitioned to not be considered as slaves because they were Moors who were subjects of the Sultan of Morocco. They won. They got it, and they were treated as different from slaves. Even though they was black or melanated, it was a class of citizenship that was different than slavery. So this shows you this is what they deal with. And so if you have to understand your status, if you don't understand your status, you're not going to get shit back. And
But let me frame it this way, and then we got to take another quick break. All that stuff you just broke down to me is vital information, and it must be known. It has to be taught somewhere. But all I know is all of Japan, all the people of Japan got together and got reparations for the atrocities they suffered in war. That's all I know. When we come back and look at black people, especially blacks in America, probably some of the most divided people in the world, ideologically, religiously, just divided. My point is, how do we come together as a collective and say, the corporation that is known as the United States of America, you motherfuckers owe us $984 trillion for slavery. How do we push that through? That's what I want to know. When we come back, we're going to deal with that.
I'll tell you.
Crazy.
Reparations. What the fuck are we talking about? A rat just bit my little sister Nell and whited on the moon. And here we are sitting in here talking about reparations like that's something we can fix overnight when we can't even agree what reparations really is. So a bigger question is, what are we really going to do as a people right now, 2015, September 27th, 28th, whatever day it is? I am really just at the end of my rope with all of these fractions and factions. You know, we get caught up in all of this nonsense about stuff that we cannot control. Things are right in front of us today that we have an opportunity to move on. They're getting ready to build a new stadium in San Francisco. I was talking to a friend of mine who has a stake in the team. And he said, everybody's ready to build, and they got their minority component in place and everything. And I said, well, are there any black people? He said, they didn't show up for the meeting 2 years ago. Now, as soon as they put a fork in, not a fork, but a shovel in the ground, here we come talking about Me Too. We have got to get away from being late to the party. Right now, this country is experiencing more economic development, and there's no doubt about it, the 1%'s got the money. So what are we doing chasing anything but our fair share of that 1%. So what's fair? What's fair is anything that you have contributed to. We pay taxes. I'll give you another quick example. In my home state of Tennessee, they got roads and highways all over the place, and all you need is a lawnmower and another lawnmower and a blower and some other stuff to get these massive contracts. And in my state, they allocated $187 million just to cut grass. And there's less than 1% black participation because the Negroes that are supposedly representing us are chasing some other money that we don't have a stake in because that money that they appropriated comes out of the gas tax. We pay taxes in this country, all over the place, sales taxes, excise taxes, all kind of taxes, and then we'll turn around and beg for our own money. My point is simply this: when are we going to pay attention to the rules of engagement? Because until we do that, reparations is just another conversation that keeps us chasing after money that we can't collect.
Wow, this is good stuff. Listen,
I'm done.
Thank you for that rant, Bobby. Sitting in for Jeff Brown. Listen, we've got a caller on the line. I got to get to him. Music Man. You know, we don't take very many calls on the Zo What Show. This was important. We wanted to get him in. Music Man, speak to us, man.
Hey, what's up?
What's happening, man?
What's
we
up,
good.
bro?
What's happening? What's going on?
Hey,
Talk to
what's
us.
up, Bobby?
Hey, what's up, big man?
Everything's good, man. I just wanted to chime in on the reparations subject. To me, now this is just my opinion, the reason black people didn't get 40 acres and a mule is because we was already indigenous to the Americas and the surrounding islands.
There you go.
And we got to remember that the slave trade was in reverse.
Thank you.
Because most of the slaves were indigenous to the Americas. Now, should we be entitled to reparations? Yes. I think we're a mixture of four groups here in America that I can think off the top of my head. Black Indians, Black Hebrews, Black Moors. But the Moors is more of a difficult subject. And then you got just flat out people who came over from Africa, but really millions of us didn't come over. I think we were bred with the Black Indians, and that's how you got all those people. And then a lot of us were slaughtered too. And then also taxes. I think if we did get reparations, if they can't pay it in money, they should at least pay it in education. Like we should get free education, taxes. We don't have to pay, taxes on houses. I don't think we should be taxed at all. And I think we should get free education. And then just to piggy back on Veronica Conway, for all the black people who think that we sold each other in slavery, yes, it was true, but African slavery is different from chattel slavery.
It is.
Yes. Yeah, chattel slavery is basically more brutal, people raping you, killing you, all that stuff like that. So I just wanted to chime in and thanks for having me, though.
Let me say, man, thank you so much for that. That's good information. People don't remember when the Moors took over Spain. Them damn white folks was begging the Moors, take my child, because they knew their child would be educated. They knew the Moors would raise them up. This is how you get the Mamluks and the Seljuks and all of them people. The Moors were building madrasas. They were building schools and bathhouses.
But really.
And them people weren't living well to begin with.
Some of those Moors. You got gangbangers today. Bloods and
Dragon
Crips.
Phoenix.
Yes.
I already
So
know.
Please stop acting like it wasn't some of those type of cats back in the day. They were smacking the shit out of people. Just like you had the good Moors, Phoenix Moors. Yeah, bring us your children. We'll raise them up.
Right.
And do all this and that. You had other Moors over there.
Brutish Moors.
Beating the shit. Yeah, brutish Moors. They were
No
beating
question.
the shit out of people. And so,
Another movie, because we got to do another one of those movies where we break down the hidden history in the movie.
Right.
We got to do that again. Another movie we should break down is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes.
With
the
Sean
Moor.
Connery.
Captain Nemo.
And Captain Nemo is the Moor with all the technology. And then America is a little kid.
Yes.
Right? That the other more ancient civilizations are raising and passing the torch to. This The symbology in that is crazy.
Dude, it's off the chain.
I'm just
But I just want to get back to one
just-
thing
sorry.
real quick. Why
got excited.
Black people in America are not going to get reparations. The reason is because of the different classes of citizenship. But if you got reparations and got money, then that would take you out of a second or third class of citizenship and put you on the top with them. And they're not going to let that happen. Most people over here are black people. You're a 14th Amendment citizen, and the 14th Amendment states all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state in where they reside. But you got to listen to that part, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. When you're subject to the jurisdiction of somebody, you're a slave, you're a subject.
Period.
You're not going to get reparations from them.
A subject in this system is exactly the same as a subject to King Henry VIII.
Exactly.
You're a subject. You got to do whatever I tell you to do. Aarona?
That sounds like the feudal system to me. I just want to disagree with Bobby in saying that black people won't get organized to receive reparations if we get it. I disagree. When there's money on the table, niggas know how to get it. You know, look at the LA riots. They was ready to get free stuff. When it's time for
where is it now?
Let me tell you something. When
Where's
it's
that money at
time,
now?
when it's
Right back
time
in
for
white people's
resources, when it's time for resources to be given and gotten out, black people will come out of the woodwork to go and get and collect and try to see. We should probably even do absentee ballots for people in prison that want to get their reparations because you know they need some too.
Just on that note right there.
And then I'm going to bring Veronica in right after you, Bobby.
There's no plan for the return of the money. All right, so you're right. Everybody going to want it, but what are they going to do to get it? That's the question, because like right now, if we were really serious about this, we would not pay another dime in taxes. We say, look, I'm not giving you another dime till I get my money back.
Collectively.
Yeah. Why haven't that? Why,
That's a power
why has
move.
that never ever been a part of our discussion? I remember when Dr. Golson came on this show several months ago after Ferguson. Right after Ferguson, he said we should short the stock market.
Right.
Yep.
And everybody was like, "Wow, that's deep." Not another word about it. Not another word. And it's something that
I
we
ain't
could
got no
actually do.
emails about it.
Not
Not
one
one
word.
email to
Not
say,
one word.
so how do we start that?
Yeah.
Not even a
Now,
tweet.
Right.
Now let me come back real quick. Dr. Goulston invited me and Chris to some shit, and it just blows my goddamn mind. I'm just sitting there. It's about 300 or 400, mainly white dudes, Jewish, all backgrounds, all ballers, agents, professionals, doctors, and their whole job is to reinvest in what everybody is doing in there. And I'm looking, and then I see a smattering of Negroes.
Smattering.
I love that
But the
word.
Negroes are there because in the same way that we got invited, they got invited by some white dude. And I'm sitting there looking around. I periscoped some of it, and I was like, niggas ain't got shit like this. They're in there talking about, okay, this is what's on the horizon in the stock market. We all gonna invest in this. Oh, this dude over here, he's doing this. We're all gonna get behind. And I'm saying, if black people had this, brothers, because it's men only. They got the women out front taking the tickets, making sure we eat. But it's all dudes.
jacked up.
And they out there grinding. It's like 300-400 people. What I'm saying is, the only way for us to say, oh, you don't have to pay me back, is if you're doing what Bobby said, and that's
Yes.
finding the money.
Thank you.
Instead of looking for the money,
Yes.
you should be finding the money. In other words,
Yes.
creating it.
Well,
Absolutely.
One of the first rules of wealth is pay yourself first. And if we paid ourselves first and kept a collective of what we earned and put it towards a reparations fund or we don't need you no more, fuck y'all fund, then that would be a way to get started.
We don't need you no more, fuck y'all fund.
Yeah, we don't need you no more. fuck y'all.
Veronica.
I've got to respectfully disagree with all of this. You know, the roots of American wealth was grounded in the for-profit destruction of the most important asset for any people, which is the black family.
Wow.
In other words, this country built its wealth destroying the black family. That's what happened. So And so there are too many ways in this day and age, given the technology, given the understanding of the law, to ignore. I think because I don't think we will ever get respect at the table of global economic capitalism as black people until we understand money and until we understand how the money game works. Because this is not about giving reparations to Ray Ray on the street corner. This is about taking money and rebuilding institutions that we deserve because we built this country.
But you know what, Veronica? Let me say this, Veronica. You know what? I don't think they're worried about that. They know niggas is disorganized when it comes to money. They know black people don't really understand the value of money. They know this. I think if they really wanted to turn the economy around, they would give black people reparations. Because black people would run out and go buy shit. They buy cars, they buy all types of shit.
From white people.
And from white people and boost the economy. No, I think this is more like there is a deliberate fucking campaign to hold Haiti down. Like, you live in Haiti, why is it? First off, Haiti is broke. Been broke. But we gonna make the food that they gotta import exorbitantly expensive. We gonna keep it like that. And I think that is a symbol to say, you were the only motherfuckers in the Western Hemisphere that beat slavery. Toussaint l'Ouverture. Y'all kicked us the fuck up out of here. And Napoleon said it. We can't never let them motherfuckers get away with that. Ever. You see what I'm saying? And it's been that way. There's no real reason. First off, Haiti ain't even a whole island. It's half of an island.
Dominican Republic, baby.
The other side is rich. We're going to make sure we keep that side of the game fucked up. That's all I'm saying. Bobby?
The thing that I wanted to...
I'm going to come back to you, Veronica.
Put into the mix is this. We've got the NFL going on right now. They're getting ready to start the NBA. They have a draft every year in all of the different sports. And most of these guys, young guys, get these signing bonus in the millions of dollars. First thing they do is buy a Big Mama house, then they buy a house.
Right.
We don't hold them accountable because we don't hold each other accountable. And they are moving money, I mean massive amounts of money, right into the pockets of the same people that we'll complain about that control our economy. After we get the money, we turn around and give it right back to them. Right. We have to break that mentality of thinking that not only should we follow the money that I mentioned earlier, we need to manage the money that's within our grasp
but
right
see,
now.
That's the shit that just drives me.
No, you do have to own. You have
Bobby.
the ability. Let me just finish it. You have, and I have. Everybody in this room got a right to say, look, LeBron, Dwayne Wade, whoever the star athlete is right now. If you don't start letting somebody black build your house, we got a problem with that. We need to have that discussion at least.
I agree with you on a certain level, but then I disagree with you on another. That first problem that's wrong with black people as a whole is looking to the rich to fix their problems instead of making themselves rich themselves.
I didn't just say the rich.
No.
I use them as an example.
I know.
And that's a good example because we're talking about a whole lot of money and they can fix a whole lot of...
I understand
Even if they
that.
don't do it, we need to have that conversation.
I understand that, but see, check this.
We won't even have that conversation with Jay-Z.
This is the faulty thinking. It can't be just 1 or 2 or 10 people's responsibility to help fix black people.
Right.
Black people need to uplift themselves and, like Veronica said, learn how to work the money game.
That's the model, though.
Well, I understand that, but the problem with broke people and black people specifically is looking for rich people for charity to
That's
do.
not charity.
No,
That's change.
Wait a minute.
They were broke before they played basketball.
Wait. But the people who don't have money, nobody is coming to their house and taking their money out their bank account. Nobody is telling you, hey, don't grow your financial status up. Just watch TV, Real Housewives of Atlanta and all this stuff and continue to go to work and collect a check every 2 weeks and feel like you're doing something in the world. No, nobody is forcing you to do that. There's a difference between somebody who pushed themselves, followed their dreams and said, you know what, I'm coming to get it all. I'm not coming to the bank to just get $50. I want to come to the bank and make big deposits. Those type of people are the people that transcend classism, and that transcends race. Those are specific people, black, white, Asian people in the Forbes, people in the Fortune 500, all of those people make those decisions. And if more black people thought like that instead of looking at each other, what we got and whatever, we would be further along financially.
I got to say this really quickly.
Well,
Go ahead, Kev, and then.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying she's right about that. You really want to understand how black people need to come together and basically do what Scientology did. See, Scientologists, what they did is they got all their money together and they bought property. See, you want black people need to get together and piece your money together, buy small properties here and there, create a property trust, and then start acquiring property with that. Because in the trust game, if you understand that, that's the top game in the world, where you don't own anything, you just control everything. So Scientologists, they have a trust as well, and they have acquired $3 billion worth of property, which is why they have all this power. Real estate is the true money. Whatever else is in the world is bullshit. If you don't have a place to sit your ass down and lay your head, you have nothing. So acquiring property is the top game in the world.
And I'm talking about acquiring property, and I'm talking about the development of property, and we cannot allow the people that have the most impact to get away with giving the most money away and setting that example, because we are followers, and we follow a flawed model when we allow the premier athletes and entertainers to give that much money back to people that don't put nothing back in our community.
Good point. Hold on. Veronica?
Yeah, so one of the things that they're looking at, because this is stuff that is actually working today in the world with the Native American community, with the Caribbean community. It's just the Negroes that can't seem to figure out how to get paid for what they did. It's just us, right? Everybody else is figuring it out. So today in the Caribbean, what they're doing, because again they're looking at it not from in terms of reparations for individuals, they're looking at it for institution building, because slavery was and colonialism was an institutional crime against humanity. So part of the thing that they're looking at doing is allocating some of the reparations that they're looking at getting back from the British Crown to training for people so that they have some financial literacy. In other words, you can take the money, and I agree with Kevin, real estate's the game, but you can't buy real estate if you ain't got no money.
But that's why I was saying people should piece up.
It's about using the money to re-educate and decolonize the black mind.
There it is.
And if we have the resources to do that, then we could do that.
But black people spend more money than anybody in the world, so we have the money. They just need to piece up and buy shit. Buy the right shit.
Hey, listen.
Financial literacy, like I said.
We got to take a quick break, but before we do, got to give LeBron James credit. He's sending a whole bunch of kids and adults to college, to school. Got to give him credit for that. But I'll save this thought for later. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. This is the Zoe Up Morning Show, and we're talking about reparations. Where's my 40 acres and a mule, goddammit? I'm pissed off. We got to get our shit.
Repair each other.
Is there anything to be rescued from this terrible story? Is there anything that can be done about it once it's been recognized? We cannot possibly undo. I actually don't think we even dare think of the scope of what it would take to imagine undoing the damage done to Africa, especially to West Africa, by the period of colonization, colonial division, plunder, slavery, and rape. We can't undo the enforced underdevelopment of Africa, though we are, you may notice, compelled to keep trying to do that on other fronts all the time and to deal with the consequences of the amputation and dismemberment of Africa in that period. And who would say we shouldn't do that, little enough as it is? Who would say it isn't our responsibility to do that in Africa now as well? I hope none of you would. We can't make up for the Middle Passage, for the uncounted millions of people who were captured and raped and tortured before they even made it across the Atlantic to be other people's property. We can't undo that, but we can refuse, we can decline to forget it. If you really want to think about all the things that can't be redeemed, you'll be in some danger, I think, of weeping. But in my hometown of Washington, D.C., there's hardly one official brick piled on another that wasn't piled there by unpaid labor under the whip. And that dead labor becomes dead capital and dead souls, dead money, and it's piled actually in the Treasury Department and the federal financial system, who took that free labor and those dead souls and turned it into capital, and it's back pay, and it's owed, and it's overdue.
I think everybody in America knows about the game called Monopoly. Anybody ever play Monopoly? Raise your hand. Oh, look, some of these old stiff aristocrats, even when I said monopoly, they got a big smile on their face. Hey, let me say that again, monopoly. Well, anyway, if you know anything about monopoly, every player starts out with $1,500. Well, I wanted to play the advocate, the black advocate. So we played Monopoly the other night, and I didn't take any money. I wanted to take the place of the slaves that were emancipated in 1865, who did not get the 40 acres or the mule. And so I took nothing. Now, I survived for a few times around the board, but I couldn't buy nothing. And it was very soon I was out of the game. Now, you would say that that is unfair to have somebody sit down at a table and play Monopoly and not give them the $1,500 to start with. But that's what this country did with our people when they emancipated us. And then have the audacity, the unmitigated gall to wonder why we don't do better. And you started out with $1,500 and we started out with nothing. Yet look what we have done.
Ooh-wee. Frederick K.C. Price. Yeah. Go on, bring L.A. preachers in the building right now.
Fred Priest sounds like Frederick X on that one.
Frederick X. Hey, if black lives really mattered to the American government, wouldn't reparations for slavery be a no-brainer?
Yeah.
There would be a reparations committee. Yeah?
They meet every year.
What is it called, Bobby? Speak on it.
The Reparation Committee. They have a chicken dinner, pass out some awards, and wait for next year's meeting.
What I find is black people are just hella complacent.
I agree.
Right? We're just complacent. And it's fucked up.
Yep.
Like, no way. If you look at the Latinos, once they understood that that their numbers would overtake African Americans as the predominant quote-unquote minority in America, did they not step up their political game?
Is it really complacency or is it fear?
Both.
I think it's both.
Both.
But they stepped up their political game. When big badass immigrant white boy Donald Trump stepped up and started talking shit,
Yep.
they was on his head quickly, and NBC dropped The Apprentice because of their
Yep.
organization.
Organize.
You feel me, Veronica?
Yeah, I think we have got to stop being so passive in this game. I mean, the thing is, you to make the case that like we shouldn't get reparations because our athletes don't spend appropriately. It's just like saying white folks shouldn't be mandated to stop killing us because we kill each other in the inner city. It's a false equivalence. In other words, the shit was wrong. Make them pay for it. It has nothing to do with our dysfunction. We're dysfunctional because of this stuff. Make them pay for the wrong. That's right. Because it's a false equivalence. So I don't know. At some point, I think until we decide to grow up and actually be warriors on behalf of our people and stop, because they want us to believe that we're powerless and we can't ever have it, and even if we did it, we fuck it up anyway. They want us to believe that so that we stay in the same passive posture.
I think our organization would force them to throw away this system. You know how they had the standardized testing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was cool so long as blacks and Latinos and all of the races weren't doing as well as Caucasian Americans. But when the Asians started smashing those tests, and now statistically we're viewed as smarter than Caucasians, that's when Caucasians said we want to change the standardized testing. That we want to rewrite this shit now. Because the Asians routinely was smashing their ass.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole point is at some point, we either have to say, y'all gonna rewrite the system by collectively coming together and doing something. Putting the system in a space where they gotta say, well, we'll do away with that.
Yes.
Right? So the economic system in particular. Black people say, oh, we got 1.7 trillion. We not spending none of that shit on anything you guys got going. We're only gonna spend it in our community. That is a terrorist act. That'll have America going, well, what the fuck? Who is the leader of these niggas? Because we need to go sit down and have a conversation or nuke them all. Something got to happen. But we don't even put them in, like, they don't even have to raise an eyebrow for some of the shit we doing.
They don't.
Because it's all autopilot. You feel me, Bobby?
I'll give you a real world example of the impact of not only perception becoming reality, but you know how it impacts people's lives. I was on a bus yesterday with Sam, the face of Boxing Watson, that he leased out or whatever, put 34 of his friends and colleagues on the bus, and I looked around the bus and I saw the people who done made money by the fact that once he had an opportunity to get into a position of leadership, he looked out for his folks. And it has perpetuated a tremendous amount of wealth that is growing daily simply because it's being replicated within those ranks. In other words, there are people within that circle now that see how it benefits to have this brother do well and have him be accountable to his people. So that's what I meant earlier about a mob.
Is to do what Warwick Dunn
Right.
is doing. Warwick Dunn is giving away 139 homes to single mothers. He did that by himself.
There's another brother that did that in Minnesota, Devon George, who played for the Lakers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So imagine if now it's a fraternity. We got an opportunity to be sports players. Modern day slave block with the combines and jump, nigga, how fast you run, nigga, scoot across. Okay, if I'm gonna do all this, we gonna create this foundation of brothers across sports, hockey, boxing, everybody. And our job is to build infrastructure.
Yes.
I like it.
We building schools. We're going to start in Oakland. We're going to go to Compton. We're going to go to Chicago. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now you got infrastructure. And this is, listen, just remember, Black Wall Street was terrorism
Yes, it was.
for white folk during that time.
That's why they killed
First off,
3,000 niggas.
you niggas, you doing better than us? In our face? Oh, hell no. If one of you niggas poot wrong, we gonna start a war. And that was the first time America ever dropped a bomb. Wasn't Hiroshima, wasn't Nagasaki. They dropped a bomb on Tulsa, Oklahoma. So if Japanese people can get reparations, at least the niggas you did it to first should get reparations.
At least. See, here's the thing, though. It's like, I'm thinking about the outsourcing. So we put all our money into our communities, and we say, you know what? Screw y'all. We ain't giving y'all no more money. It's like, all right, where we gonna get that gas from now? we don't own any oil refineries. We don't.
But that goes back to T.D. Jakes.
Okay.
I don't agree with everything T.D. Jakes said, but the motherfucker was right on point when he said, we're not producers.
Yeah.
This is why giving reparations, it wouldn't really matter to the powers that be, because they'd be like, oh, they're just gonna put it back into the system.
And
that's fine.
Pretty much. Because even if we had a meeting tomorrow, all right, niggas, come on, let's stop this bullshit. Let's keep our money in our community. Okay, who gonna make our clothes? Where we gonna get it from? Okay, we got like a couple
Well,
people.
we got designers.
I mean, right. We got a couple people. We got like, FUBU and all of this stuff. Okay, fam, we gonna get that. Okay, are they shipping it directly into the country from black people, or are they shipping it, from Asian places and whatever? Okay, we need to cut our side deal with them. Okay, that's close.
A side deal.
Food. Where we gonna get our food from? How many of y'all are farmers? Y'all raising crops? Okay. How many can we feed all of them?
You're making a great point.
Where are you getting the food
Wait,
from?
you're making
where
a great
are you shipping
point.
it from? Okay, so
let me. You making a great point.
I know.
I was telling my son the other day. I was like, Auburn has an incredible agriculture school, right? You should. He was like, you want me to be a farmer, Dad? Fuck out of here. He didn't want to. And then it reminded me of Farrakhan with his lecture at Cal Berkeley when he was saying becoming an agriculturist right now, getting a degree from it, is so important. And this is next week's topic. Right. When we start talking about the scarcity of water,
come on now.
When we start talking about the scarcity of food,
come on.
Like, you see, a lot of times isolated and insulated in America, you don't understand what's happening.
Uh-huh.
You see, this is next week's topic. And this is why organization is key. And this is why the fear that Bobby spoke of earlier, we cannot entertain the fear anymore, because that's going to keep us stuck in one spot. And when the world changes, we won't be prepared.
Well, she made a point that I want to go back to, and that is we ain't going to have all the answers simultaneously, but we ain't going to have any of them if we don't make a commitment to change. Because right now, we don't control anything, and there's nothing on the horizon that's going to affect change until we say, look, we have to start somewhere and build momentum. Momentum is a powerful thing.
Right.
And you can just look around the world and see the impact. Just one person's mindset, like Fidel Castro, got beat back up in them bushes for years and years and years. But he relented, he persisted, and he found a way 90 miles off our shore to create a country that said, fuck you.
I agree 100%.
That's what the country said.
I agree 100% with
Fuck
that.
you.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. I totally get it, and I agree.
And going back to acquiring the property thing, because I want to drive this home to black people, getting together and doing that is not as hard as it seems. You can go to LegalZoom and create a trust, a living trust, or some type of organization for like $150 and start acquiring property, like little stuff. You can acquire property, fix it up, and then sell that property, buy another property, and just keep building on top of that. Because America, the government of America, only started off with a 10 square mile radius. Now they own all of this land mass. Well, they control all of this land mass, as well as some territories outside of the land mass. So that's where it starts with, is acquiring land. Because once you do that, then you can pretty much do anything from that. Anything can grow out from that. Agriculture, all this and that, but you got to have the place to do it first. It's all about the land, which they've taken from us, and separated our rights to the land. So to get that back would be very hard. So what you got to do is just acquire it on a down low, and then create a way for you to be able to keep it, a roundabout way. But getting the land first is the most important thing.
One quick point, though.
Go ahead.
Language is so powerful. We use words like take. I'd rather say we gave it away.
We did.
As opposed
we
to.
did.
Because they took it.
You're right.
If you take something from me,
you're right.
Then I'm
we
in
did
trouble.
We did give it away.
I'm in trouble. If you had the power to just take something from me, then I got to beg for it back.
No, you're right. We
but
did give it away.
If I gave it away, then I might want to take it from you.
That's you absolutely.
You
We did give it away.
Language is real important that we use a lot of times.
Absolutely.
Listen, Veronica, you have a final thought before we move it on?
I do. We got to understand the times that we are in. We have 1.3 billion people across Africa and the diaspora, meaning we as African people, we're scattered, but we are basically larger than China in terms of our population. We are also at a time in history when black people worldwide, ever since Ferguson, which was an inciting incident in this new revolution that we're talking about in terms of Black Lives Matter and all that, people are mobilized, people are awake, and people are not trying to sit up on this, not trying to be at the effect of this beast anymore. So I think that, and furthermore, there's plenty of people that have done the very difficult work. Maggie Anderson and the Empowerment Experiment. There's tons of people that have done the very difficult work and the heavy lifting of sacrificing their lives on behalf of reparations, on behalf of economic empowerment, We just don't know who they are typically because we don't have access to them. I think that there's never a greater time than this time, given this convergence of demographics, of politics, to get some shit done. But we have to have the will to do it.
No argument from me. No argument from me. Listen, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, Zoe's final thought. So, the Pope was here, hugging Native Americans and apologizing, right? I'm just saying, they played a heavy hand in slavery too. Let's not, you forgiving motherfuckers of abortions. Why don't you just come see black people that aren't Catholics and give us your blessing, whitey locks. Right? I'm just saying I don't believe in any of that shit. But the reason why I bring that up is this. You got black Catholics. You got black Mormons. You got black Jehovah's Witnesses. You got black Christians, black Republicans, black Democrats. Black people are overly willing to join shit for resources. Always trying to join shit. Always a part of something, but hella reluctant to join their own people. Right? I don't think that there's a bigger fucking financial shamer, race-wise, than black people. We shame each other for not climbing a ladder that was designed to keep us on a certain rung. We will shame motherfuckers who are not willing to live and die for the middle-class mediocrity. You better speak that truth. Right? Like, you could have got here with me. Everybody in black America who think they somebody is Cleo McDowell. You too. In 20 or 30 years can have a palace like right? That's most of us. That is most of African Americans. Zoe, you shaking that tree. Don't shake that tree. You barking up the wrong tree, man. Everybody wants to keep the status quo. Being a part of something that is designed to keep you at a particular rung, right? And then once you get a peek behind the veil, you get uppity because you landed at a party you didn't have an invite to, right? So then you look back and be like, see, niggas, look where I'm at. You niggas are not here, right? It's because I'm special. These white people have accepted me and as one of their own, right? And all I'm saying is, okay, they don't want to give you reparations. Fine. But you could repair yourself without their help if you said, you know what? Even though we are in hell, Elijah Muhammad called it the hell of North America, right? The desert, the hell of North America. What does he call it? We're in hell, but we got resources in hell. But we'd rather somebody give us an opportunity than come together and create an opportunity. We have enough resources to create opportunities, but we know based off of history. You start creating opportunities for yourself, and then the man who gave you the opportunity in the first place is going to be like, what you doing with that opportunity? I don't like the way you're appropriating that shit. Now do some more collective shit and see what happens. Do some more collaborative shit and see don't I start shutting down avenues. We so scared of getting swatted by Big Papa White Daddy Bear. Right? We scared. We saw what happened to Tulsa, Oklahoma. We saw that. We saw what happened. Listen, America has broken every treaty them motherfuckers has been in. Every single one. Every fucking treaty. We signed a treaty when? When did we do that? Nigga, you just signed it. Right. Look at your status here in America. If they so happen to just say, you know what, fuck niggas in voting, they could just write it away. It comes up for review every few years and be like, the Voters Act, that's right, Martin Luther King. Jeez, wow. I don't know. Should niggas still be able to vote? Let's sleep on it and come back tomorrow. So what I'm saying to black people who can hear my voice, master this game while they're still allowing you to play it. That is the key. They're letting you play it. Okay. See it as a game. Don't see it as a fucking definition of who you are. First off, you're mindless consumers. We talked about this last week. Listen, your purchase must have a purpose. See, white people are shifting their philosophy when it comes to money. They're saying, wait a minute, consumer activism now. Even the corporations are becoming activists. Why? Because they say, hey, the resources that we're using are fucking up the planet. So now we're only going to start fucking with stuff that's pro-planet and pro-sustainability. So the white person has shifted his paradigm when it comes to corporations and money, right? So now there's such a thing now as corporate suicide, right? You do something or you present your product in a way that's disrespectful to the planet, white people are saying we're pulling out of that. This is why Whole Foods and Gelson's is in their neighborhood and nigga bloody meat is in your neighborhood. Right? So you're pursuing an old paradigm that they've shifted from. Do you see what I'm saying? When does your purchase have a purpose? Or does your purchases give you a purpose? See, that's where niggas are. I got this house. I got this Bentley, so I must mean something. No, nigga, it's the reverse. You have things because things reflect you. They don't define you. I'm just a bad motherfucker. That's why I have an Audi R8. No, it's the Audi R8 makes me a bad motherfucker. We got it reversed. You see what I'm saying? We've got to come together, support each other, and make sure that our purchases have purpose. How do you do that? I talked about the Freedom Paper Company. The purpose would be, why would I keep giving money to Sherman when I could give it to a brother and keep his doors open and possibly send his kids to college all while wiping my ass? Right? All while wiping my ass with black manufactured toilet paper. Something as basic as that. Why I gotta buy motherfucking Ralph Lauren when I can go to Elephant and buy their gear? Same material, but I need a white man on a horse playing polo in order to have meaning, in order to be seen as valuable. What if it was a nigga with dreads on a horse? That's some bootleg polo, nigga. What is that, Jamaican polo? You get fucking shamed. It could be the same quality, same thread count, same heft. What kind of bootleg shit this nigga? He got on Jamaican polo, nigga. What is this, cricket? This nigga got on a cricket shirt. That's how we treat each other. I'm just saying, man, I'm Zoe Williams. That's my final thought. You know, we got to come together. We got to repair ourselves before we can expect anybody else to repair us. So with that said, everybody tell me where you're going to be at. Aarona?
Folks, come check me out in New York City in Times Square Thursday, October 1st. And then check me out in Brooklyn at the Knitting Factory. Aarona Lopez 100 on IG.
Love it. Kev?
Get at me at Real Nagas YouTube channel, ReelNagas. That's the video classroom. Also, the Booty Boxing 8-week home system. Go to udemy.com. /bootyboxing, and the promo code is ZoWhatShow. What you laughing for?
Booty boxing. Hey, Bobby.
It's all about Real Men Don't Play. www.realmendon'tplay.com, and you can just give me your opinions about what I got to say at Glanton-Smith on Twitter. And I'm done with it, Ma.
Veronica.
VeronicaCommons.com, BlackMastery.com, TheBlackPaper.com. That's where you can find me.
Love it. Hey, only 250 copies remaining. You better get yours now. Go to my website, IamZoeWilliams.com. Order right now. Call to action. Get yours while they last. I will not be reprinting anymore. It's how I get down. That's what I did with the first book. One series. That's it. Go get yours right now, IamZoeWilliams.com. If you order right now, I promise I will package it and send it out tomorrow morning, just as I did this morning. So get at me right now. Let's get this done so I can move on to the next book. Let's start sharing. Let's start working together, all right? Deuces, Zoe What Mornings. We out.